I woke up at 6:15 a.m. with a smile I didn't wear often these days. The Colorado air had a dry bite to it, the kind that nudges you awake with purpose. Today, I had one. I was finally going to take my new car for a solo drive. No errands, no appointments, just me, the open road, and the reward of months of working late, skipping lunches, saying no to things I wanted. I pulled on my sweatshirt, poured myself a coffee, and hummed something off-tune. The kitchen still smelled faintly like lavender dish soap and last night's silence. Damien hadn't come home until after midnight. Again. But I wasn't going to let that shadow stretch into my morning. Not today. I walked outside. The driveway was empty. At first, my brain tried to reason with it. Maybe I parked on the street? Maybe Damien moved it? I scrolled through my texts. Nothing. Opened the car's tracking app, half expecting it to be offline. It wasn't. It was pinging from a place I knew but never visited. A motel off Highway 287. One of those weekly rate spots with peeling paint and flickering signs. I stared at the screen, waiting for it to make sense. It didn't. I called Damien. No answer. Again. Voicemail. The coffee cup slid from my fingers, hitting the pavement in a dull crack. Brown, liquid bled, tore my bare feet like a warning. I ordered a rideshare, said nothing, just nodded at the driver and watched the GPS dot pulse. The motel sat low to the ground, a crooked row of doors and stained curtains. My car was parked at the back, still warm. There were red lipstick smudges on the rear window. I walked closer, filming without knowing why. The camera steadied even as my breath didn't. Through the window I saw him, shirtless, laughing, tossing a towel toward a woman I instantly knew. Maren Voss, his colleague, his project manager, the woman I'd once driven home in a rainstorm. I didn't knock. I didn't scream. I turned around, but something inside me shifted. This wasn't the first betrayal. It would be the last. At home, I called Celeste. My voice broke on the first word, and I hated that. "You sure you're not overreacting?" she asked, her tone too calm. Maybe he needed some space. I paused. Space. She exhaled. "Val, it's just a car. Don't do anything you'll regret. Men make mistakes." That phrase slammed into me harder than the motel view. I didn't say goodbye. I just stared at the wall, the silence stretching until it snapped. Celeste knew, or suspected, and she said nothing. By noon, I was done crying. The message came as I was wiping down the kitchen counter. A DM, no sender photo, no real name. A picture. Maren, driving my car, wearing my sunglasses. Captioned, writing in style, kiss mark. I opened the account. Another post. Finally getting what I deserve. I sat down. Not in shock. Not in sadness. Just done. I opened the filing cabinet. Title. Insurance. Maintenance logs. All under my name. The front door creaked. Damien walked in, keys in hand like he belonged here. "I needed the car," he said, tossing his bag onto the couch. "You're overreacting. Relax, honey." My mind went quiet in a way that was louder than any scream. I stood in the same driveway where the day began. Twilight now. Wind playing with the loose strands of my hair. I dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? "I'd like to report a stolen vehicle." "Do you know the suspect?" "Yes," I said, watching the streetlights blink to life. "My husband, Damien Holt." The walls of the police station didn't echo, but Valeria still felt every sound bounce inside her chest. She sat in a metal chair under the buzz of a fluorescent light, its flicker mimicking her nerves. Across the table, Officer Rhea Langford laid out the file slowly, calmly, like she had all the time in the world. Valeria didn't. "This won't just be paperwork, Ms. Knox," Rhea said, folding her hands. "If the document's forged, this is a felony. He could face real time." Valeria swallowed. "Then press the charges." A beat of silence. Not for hesitation, but finality. Her phone buzzed. Harper Wynne from the insurance company. She put it on speaker. The copy of the title you sent doesn't match the one we have on file. Your signature's been altered. Slanted differently. Time-stamped 3 days after purchase. Legally, it's a forgery. Damien had forged her signature. Her husband had committed document fraud. The room didn't tilt, but her trust in the ground beneath her did. She left the station with a printout and a case number. It didn't feel like victory. It felt like exhuming something dead, only to realize it had claws. By late afternoon, she stood at Celeste's front door. She hadn't called first. Celeste opened it with a tight smile, a blanket wrapped around her like armor. I was wondering when you'd come. They sat. Tea steamed between them. The silence louder than the kettle. I saw your face on the station footage, Celeste said. I didn't think you'd actually go through with it. Valeria didn't answer. Just looked at her. Waited. I knew, Celeste said finally, about Marin. For a while. Valeria blinked slowly. I didn't want to get in the middle. You were already in the middle, Valeria whispered. You were supposed to be the middle, between me and madness. She's not the villain you think, Celeste added. Maybe you stopped seeing Damien. You've been so focused on proving you don't need him. Maybe you made him feel invisible. Valeria stood. You knew, and you let me believe I was crazy. She didn't slam the door on her way out. That would have made noise. Betrayal didn't need it. By nightfall, she had visitors. Uninvited. Damien's parents stood in her doorway like sentinels of tradition. Behind them, his sister, arms crossed. You can't seriously be pressing charges, his mother said. I already did. His father stepped forward. Valeria! You're ruining his life over a misunderstanding. No, she said. He ruined his life when he put another woman in my car and forged my name. You're tearing this family apart. Did you ever ask what he did to me? His sister rolled her eyes. You're humiliating him. He humiliated himself. Marriage is about sacrifice, his mother snapped. This isn't sacrifice, Valeria replied, voice calm. This is theft in a wedding ring. She shut the door. In the morning, she walked into the courtroom wearing navy. No black, no mourning. Judge Rowan Mercer presided. The room smelled like paper and old decisions. Damien sat across from her in a pressed suit. Marin sat behind him smirking. His lawyer stood. My client had no intent to steal. The car was borrowed during an emergency. Mrs. Knox is emotionally unstable, struggling with paranoia. We have documentation of past therapy visits. Valeria didn't flinch. Rhea Langford spoke next, presenting a balanced account. Then came Valeria. She handed over a folder, GPS logs, text threads, timestamps, and the forged document. She didn't plead. She presented. Marin rolled her eyes. The judge leaned forward. This isn't a domestic squabble. It's legal. Valeria left with her dignity intact, but her heart scraped raw. That night, she sat at the kitchen table, reading the transcript. Every word Damien twisted, she highlighted. Then she began her own timeline. Not a diary. A dossier. At 10:32 p.m., her Aunt Lorraine called. They'll twist everything. Don't let them twist you. I won't, Valeria said, pen still moving. At 11:47 p.m., she texted Officer Langford. Can I request full surveillance logs from October 3rd? The message arrived at 3:19 a.m. No name, no signature, just a string of screenshots from Marin's social account. Images mocking Valeria's courtroom composure, side by side with a crying emoji and a caption. When you lose both your man and your mind, face blowing a kiss. Valeria sat up in bed, heart racing, thumb frozen above the screen. Then came the voice memo. She tapped it. The tone was hushed, familiar, intimate. She doesn't even know how pathetic. She looks still, trying to act like she's in control. Celeste. No mistaking that voice. Soft and syrupy with a bite of judgment at the edges. Valeria didn't cry. She forwarded the message to her own encrypted drive, then deleted it from her phone. But the sound stayed in her ears, longer than any ringtone. Some betrayals wear lipstick and know your coffee order, she whispered to herself, echoing a truth she wished she didn't know. At sunrise, she didn't check in with anyone, not even Aunt Lorraine. She went straight to the station, handed Officer Langford her phone with the evidence backed up. This changes things, Rhea said, no emotion, just a nod. A new folder opened. A new fire lit. Harper called shortly after. Damien tried to file for financial hardship, using your name. Said your car's impound was affecting your shared credit. Valeria didn't flinch. She just made a note on her legal pad. Fraud attempt 2. Identity misuse. By mid-afternoon, Marin filed a motion through her attorney. Harassment, it claimed. Emotional distress from relentless pursuit. Valeria read the paperwork without blinking. She didn't call anyone. She didn't vent. She collected every timestamp, message, photo, and witness. Audio logs, text receipts, GPS data. Not rage, just math. The final court session began with Judge Mercer eyeing the room like it was already on fire. Damien sat 2 rows back, posture confident, Marin in red beside him, tapping her nails against her phone. Damien's lawyer painted him as a man under stress, pleading for leniency. A lapse in judgment, Your Honor. He never intended harm. He borrowed the car during emotional upheaval. His wife, excuse me, Ms. Knox, has a history of emotional instability. Valeria stood. Her blouse was cream. No jewelry. She placed a USB stick on the podium. Audio recording from October 3rd. The courtroom listened to Damien's voice. She won't fight back. She never does. Silence followed. Not even Marin moved. Valeria then held up the printed screenshot of Marin's smug post. Time-stamped hours after the court hearing. This, she said, this was posted while claiming emotional distress. Judge Mercer leaned forward. Ms. Voss, are you aware of the legal implications of false statements in court? Twist in the air. Everyone felt it. Damien was convicted on counts of forgery and identity fraud. The judge granted Valeria full restitution and ordered Marin to appear in a separate hearing for perjury. As Valeria left the courthouse, Rhea gave her a subtle nod from backbench. Harper handed her a check for partial compensation. In that moment, she didn't feel powerful. She felt done. That night, she drove out to Aunt Lorraine's place. Ezra was there. He handed her a folded piece of paper, a drawing of a phoenix. You showed me that it's okay to walk away from broken people, he said, like he was explaining gravity. She hugged him with one arm and said nothing. Some truths don't need echoes. Valeria didn't bring up Marin again. Or Celeste. They were ghosts now, flat and fading. On her way back, she passed the Camry parked in her complex lot. The sun hit the windshield, and she paused, hands in her coat pockets. She didn't touch it. Instead, she opened her door, sat down at her desk, and opened her laptop. She typed. They said, I lost my marriage. I say I found myself. She paused. Then, as if life couldn't resist drama's final nudge, her phone buzzed. A national podcast wanted to feature her story. She stared at the screen, smiled, not from pride, but from something steadier. Not every story ends with justice, but mine did with me.